West Pacific area used by Nimitz, used by MacArthur, used by Halsey in order to reach the Philippines and eventually defeat Japan. That was in the West Pacific area in 1941 to 1944. Now we are looking at a smaller part of the West Pacific, the South China Sea. The South China Sea today is considered by all strategic think tanks as the convergence point of the world's three most powerful economic powers, the United States, China, and Japan. Add to that India, Australia, South Korea, and Indonesia. Then the minor powers that are now joining the arms race, Vietnam, even the Philippines. In the periphery, their intentions are clear, is Russia. It is without doubt the convergence point of the greatest powers in absolute and relative terms in the history of mankind. Note the strategic location of the Philippines in the South China Sea theater. The Philippines is athwart the eastern periphery of the South China Sea. As such, every speck of Philippine territory is strategic in peace and in conflict. Look at the way it's blocking the the eastern part of the South China Sea. China is fanning the flame of conflict with its 9-dash line, which only China respects and the rest dismisses as irrational and without legal and historical basis. And the Philippines has assumed center stage with China's brazen grab, naked power of Mississippi Creek in 1995 and Scarborough Shoal in 2012. And now they are positioning to grab Ayungin Shoal as well. These territorial claims defy common sense as shown by the following map. These rocks being way within the Philippine EEZ and so distant from the Chinese mainland. Those who dismiss Scarborough Shoal as just small rocks in the middle of the ocean do not or refuse to appreciate the shoal's strategic importance. It is only 120 nautical miles from the shores of Zambales and so close to the country's vital economic and military installations. Subic, Clark, Metro Manila, primary airports and seaports, power plants, Calabarzon, and our Army, Navy, and Air Force bases. Scarborough Shoal, I mentioned it already, it's not small. Converted into a naval installation, Scarborough Shoal can be used to project power and monitor strategic and tactical communications of the Philippine government, the military bases, including the assets of our treaty ally, the U.S., once the rotational bases access agreement is made operational. Missiles can be installed in the Scarborough Shoal area that can reach in just a few minutes targets in central Luzon, Metro Manila, and southern Tagalog. Under the control of China and once militarized, Scarborough Shoal could be transformed into an unsinkable aircraft carrier permanently parked in our front yard, well within our exclusive economic zone. If anyone doubts the convertibility of Scarborough Shoal for military purposes, consider this. More than 60 years ago, the U.S. Navy converted a similar atoll around 1,200 miles from the Philippines into a staging area for the invasion of the Philippines. This was the Ulithi Atoll, with features similar to Scarborough, only around 4 times bigger. Here's Ulithi Atoll. And this was how it looked like on the eve of the Battle of Leyte Gulf. An atoll just 4 times bigger than Scarborough Shoal that accommodated, if you look very closely, you can see a lot of aircraft carriers there. An Iowa-class battleship similar to the Missouri. Lots of other battleships, destroyers, cruisers. In what would some people say now as a small speck in the middle of the Pacific. Look at the firepower that was faced in that area on the eve of the Battle of Leyte Gulf. And here's Ulithi. You can look at the features and how baho the Pacific look, and look at how similar they are, except that Scarborough Shoal is a little smaller than Ulithi. But we're not talking of parking Admiral Halsey's fleet inside the Bajo de Masinloc. A fleet that is bigger is what I'm trying to project here. In a small way, the same is true in considering the strategic potential of Ayungin and Mississippi Creek. And what I predict is a power play to have more Chinese military installations in the area to project power and as a counterfoil against future enhanced bases in the Palawan area for use by